Back again for the 2025 model year is the Nissan Ariya. This one in behind me here is in the Boulder gray exterior. And there really aren't many changes from the 24 to the 2025 model. The wireless charge pad is now standard across all trim levels, which is a great touch. And there also is a slight price decrease year over year in Canada, with a slight increase year over year in the US, but it's not by much. You're going to find the Ariya either front wheel or all-wheel drive. This is the all-wheel drive version, gives you way more power, and I think just better handling overall, especially in slippery, snowy conditions, so wintertime driving, and just the overall responsiveness here. Hold on. I mean, that's pretty solid. That is fairly solid, responsive, which is great. And let's do 180 here, look at the turning radius. Good, turning radius is good, back up to speed. Yeah, no complaints. No complaints there. If you're in northern states or in Canada, like me, where we get snow a few months out of the year, front wheel drive is okay. You just want to make sure that you get a good set of winter tires. But if you want better performance and you want better overall power inside of the ride, you're absolutely going to want to look at the all-wheel drive version. So it gives you a good bump in power, negatively impacts the range a tiny little bit, but I think for the offset, it's more than worth it to go for this option. There are either 19 or 20-inch wheels inside of the Ariya, with this trim level getting the 20-inch version. The 20s look okay, but there are some different styles that are available right from the factory if you want something a little bit more unique than what you're traditionally going to find inside of electric cars. You're going to find LED lamps inside of the Ariya with the option for fog lamps on top of that. And walking up to the car later on at night, I think that Nissan did a pretty good job here. With the lights back on, you can see the bubbledness, the roundedness that just separates the Ariya from other vehicles that are in this class. And it's loaded with technology. You're going to find the option for the forward park sensing system and the front-facing camera. So there is a full 360 cam that you're going to find inside of the Ariya. There are a few different power options you're going to find inside of the Ariya. This is the top of the line 91 kilowatt hour battery all-wheel drive, which means you're looking at 389 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. This car is an absolute cannon. So let's actually let's stick up in sport mode right there, and we'll get back up to highway speed here, and we'll go in 3, 2, and... Like I said, like a cannon, this car is an absolute blast. Oh, that's fun. There are two different battery choices you're going to find inside of the Ariya. So it's either 66 kilowatt hour or 91 kilowatt hour. You've got either that single or dual motor setup, but looking at the overall power in the ride, it's 214 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque at a minimum. And then when you get into the all-wheel drive 91 kilowatt hour version, it's an impressive 389 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. And then underneath the hood of the Ariya, there's no frunk space whatsoever. Nissan's kind of given it more of like the style of a traditional internal combustion engine. So I do like the way that they've got this set up. Would be nice for some frunk space, but you get more than enough inside of the boot of this ride, which I'll touch on in just a second here. And one of the nice things about it being an electric, you don't really have to maintain it quite as much as an internal combustion vehicle. Top up your wiper fluid, change your brakes, the tires a little bit more depending on your driving habits, and there's some regularly scheduled maintenance. But inside of electrics, you just don't have to maintain them as much, which I think is definitely a plus. Charging for the Ariya is done just along the passenger side. You are looking at support for both level 1, level 2, and for level 3 DC supercharging. And then you've also got the option for the NACS adapter right from the factory there too. So if you wanted to use Tesla's charging stations, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. It's actually pretty easy to use that charging capability too. There's the Nissan app that's available, add a credit card, find the station, Bob's your uncle. It's pretty simple. But the overall charge times do depend on if you're level 1, 2, or 3. So as an example, if you're just doing a regular wall plug at home, 66 kilowatt hour battery with a 1 kilowatt hour draw, you're looking at about 66 hours to charge up. 91-ish hours to charge up the larger battery to go from 0 to 100%. But there are a few things that affect the overall charging and then the overall range, and that's the same for every electric vehicle. If you're charging in the winter time, driving in the winter when it's really cold outside, that's going to typically mean that your charging is going to be about 20% longer to charge, and your overall range is negatively impacted by about 20 to 25%, depending on how cold it gets. Because if you've got accessories plugged in, like a dash cam, if you've got the heat going, things like that, that's all going to negatively impact your overall range inside of the ride. And the overall range that you get is pretty good. When you look at the 66 front-wheel drive version, that's 348 kilometers. The all-wheel drive version is going to be 330 kilometers or 205 miles. But then when you get into the 91 with the all-wheel drive setup, it's an impressive 438 kilometers or 272 mile fully electric range. You'll find power folding side view mirrors inside of the ride with turn signals built in, side-mounted camera when you've got that full 360 view. And there's also the blind spot monitoring system, so that'll highlight if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the ride. They're also going to be heated. There's intelligent access. You can push there to lock the door and then slide in. But we'll get to that loud blue interior in a second here. You're going to find seat memory as an option inside of the Ariya. And then the controls here are going to be the same across the board. So you've got your basic lock unlock, side view mirror controls, window controls with some door storage. There are 2 different speaker choices available inside of the Ariya, so it's either going to be a 6 or a 10 speaker system. This one is the upgraded 10 speaker Bose. You can kind of see a little bit of flashing there, but the nighttime profile of the interior of the Ariya, I think is great. The way that Nissan's done the nighttime styling here looks fantastic. Down low, you've got just your regular carpeted mats. Definitely recommend going for the thermoplastic rubber trays instead. WeatherTech has some pretty good options. And you've got bright blue seats, power adjustable seats here too, driver passenger side. But, oh, this is nice. Now, the seat inside of the ride is as far down as it's going to go, and spacing, I've got 3.5 inches of headspace there. So 6'4", maybe 6'5", you should be okay, but you're going to have to lean your chair back and then slide yourself back a little bit. But the seat is incredibly comfortable. There are a few different types of seating material you're going to find inside of the Ariya, with this being the Nappa leather seat. And I mean, I got to say, the blue is incredibly loud. I'd love to see how this holds up over the course of 5 years, but it looks so neat. You've got blue highlights throughout, little blue carpeted dash there too. Kind of neat. Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Nissan Ariya. I gotta say, the flat bottom steering wheel is kind of cool. But in this video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know about the steering wheel, the cluster, and the head-up display there. Let's dive in. The steering wheel inside the vehicle is going to be either a manual or power telescoping, just depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in. This one is the platinum trim level, so platinum package, which means that it's going to be power telescoping. Otherwise, it would just be a manual release that's full telescopic as well. It's just manual instead of power. The steering wheel is also heated. So along the screen, along the bottom side, you can toggle the heated steering wheel on there if you want to. So on off, you can adjust it that way or through the main climate screen there instead. There's also no way to do it down the center there. So you'd have to go one of those options in order to be able to use it. There's a little rocker on the stick on the left-hand side, and that's going to let you figure out which light mode that you're in. You're going to be in auto mode the majority of the time, but a downside of the auto mode is that you can't permanently lock your high beams out. You have to be in the top light mode in order to be able to lock your high beams out instead. So when you're in the auto mode, it goes into an auto high beam mode. So if the vehicle recognizes the high beams are needed, it's automatically going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before bringing them right back up again. It's really useful. And one neat thing about the Ariya is that there's also a little switch down by your left knee there. And there's the option of adjusting the height of the lights as well. So if you're fully loaded, you're going to go on either 2 or 3. If there's nothing in the car, you could just go on level 0. But that's going to raise or lower where the lamps are sitting, which is kind of neat. There are a series of other switches down by your left knee as well. So one of them is going to be for steering assist that works in conjunction with the adaptive cruise control system. There's one to toggle the head-up display on or off. There's the auto hold setting as well. And the auto hold, what that one does is that if you come down to a stop, you take your foot off the brake, the car's not going to move. And then there are other ones for charging and then for the liftgate. But outside of that, forgot the fogs. So left stick, there's also the option of adjusting up and down to turn your fog lamps on or off there as well. Stick along the right-hand side is going to be for your wipers. So you've got a few different wiper speed modes that are available. When you're in the auto mode, you can also adjust this way. So it's how fast it's rain hitting the windshield, but it's also an auto mode, so with rain sensing. So the windshield wipers are automatically going to pick up depending on how fast rain's hitting the windshield. You can also adjust this way in order to turn on your rear wiper as well. You're going to pull towards you for front wiper fluid. You're going to push away for that rear wiper fluid to go instead. And then a boatload of different buttons. So this is going to be for cruise control, so adaptive cruise. So you could just push in order to turn adaptive cruise control on, and you can see it's on because you've got all of these options here. Once you get up to speed, you're going to push down to set and then increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. You can hit the middle button there to cancel your speed, and then you can also hit the brake to cancel the speed, and then push back up to resume your previously set speed as well. And then this one's a distancing indicator, so it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you, with 3 unique levels. You can toggle the system on or off, and then you can also push and hold if you wanted to turn into regular cruise control instead. So this one no longer has the stopping capability that adaptive cruise has, it's just your regular cruise control. And then you can hit off, turn the adaptive back on instead. So that's the difference. You know that it's adaptive when you have all of these systems working, and then you've got this icon along the top. Otherwise, in regular cruise, that icon goes away, and you've just got the capability of setting your basic cruise control speed. So similarly, you're going to push down to set, increase, decrease, 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. But if you also push up or down, it's going to bring you to the nearest 5 or 0. So it's going to bring you up 5 kilometers or miles per hour at a time, or drop you down 5 miles or kilometers at a time. But if you actually want to see the adaptive cruise control system in person, like how it's actually used, a live demo, you'll find that down in the description of this video. There's the option of answering hang up on a phone call. There's a voice command prompt.
Canceling voice recognition.
You'd be able to do things like change songs, radio stations. You can navigate using your voice and so many other things. If you were hooked up to Android or iPhone devices, whether that's over Bluetooth or Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, you can do a long push and hold of this button in order to activate either your Siri or Google Assistant instead. And the buttons along the left-hand side here, you've got a volume rocker. So you'll be able to adjust your volume this way instead if you'd like to. You can also use this to jump in between the screens there. So let's start off on the home screen. This is going to be to seek. So if you wanted to be able to change stations out, you can see it jumping through presets there as well. You've got that flexibility. Or you can do a push and hold there if you wanted to seek out to different stations that way instead. Then you've got this button that's going to let you go between a few different pages. So let's hop you into that cluster screen so you can see a few other things that are going on. So you've got your, I want to say like traditional tachometer along the left-hand side. It's an electric. I'll show you how that one works in a second. Speedometer off to the right-hand side there. Current time, how much range you currently have left as a percentage, and then as either kilometers or miles. You've got whatever screen you're currently on there, and then you've also got what gear you're currently in. So whether you're in reverse, drop down in order to go into neutral, all the way down for drive, and then there's a B mode there as well. That's going to be for regenerative braking. And then just button press to put yourself back into park. There is a park assist system that's down the center stack there. If you want to know how to use park assist, you'll find a walkthrough down below. There's E-step, which is one pedal drive. And then there's a drive mode selector there as well. So whether you're in sport, standard, eco, or snow mode as well. Honestly, sport mode is a boatload of fun. If you want the best economy, you're going to be in the eco mode as well. But standard is pretty good. But yeah, like I said, sport, regular city driving. When you're on the highway, if you're just kind of chilling and like coasting, go to eco mode there instead. But outside of that, you've got temperature and a few other things that you can adjust, but this gauge is interesting. So as you go to put your foot down as you drive, you're going to notice that the gauge goes up because you're using power. When you go to brake, whether that's through the one pedal drive, like the E-pedal, or if you are braking yourself, you're going to notice that the gauge drops down this way, and it's trying to capture that charge. So it's essentially regenerative braking. So you're using power like a traditional tachometer, and then regenerative braking down this way instead. But it does look pretty cool. And then there's also the option, if you hit this button, to change your meter view. That's kind of neat. So that one's going to be a matter of personal preference, whether you decide to go for this view instead, but they both have their own benefits. It's just going to be a matter of preference. Which one do you like the most? You can also tweak out your audio source here. So if you wanted to jump between AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be, push back, go to driver assistance settings for lane assist. So do you want to get either a warning or an intervention? So if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it can either warn you and give you like a little haptic feedback, or intervention means it's actually going to nudge you back into your lane instead. So that's going to be a matter of preference, but you can toggle it off if you want to. Blind spot safety. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, you're going to get a little notification. And with intervention, same idea. If you start to turn into another lane and there's somebody there, it can bump you back into your lane as well. Emergency assist with braking. So if there's a collision, it's going to automatically brake for you as well. And then the rear brake assist. So if you're going to back up and you don't notice that there's something behind you, but there's something there, it can automatically brake for you as well. From there, personalized display. So along the left-hand side, what do you want showing there? So do you want your trip counters? Do you want navigation showing? Do you want nothing there instead? Brake lights. So it's actually kind of neat. As you hit the brake lights, you can see that come on. It's kind of cool. Average speed and things like that. So that one's going to be a matter of preference, but you can personalize that display. And then if you jump across, there are so many other options. So you've got your current direction that you're facing. If you had a route going, you'd be able to see your turn-by-turn directions there. You could just have a blank screen instead. You've got a few different counters there too. So you've got your total energy used along with your energy consumption for the current trip that you're on. And then you've also got your manual as well. So you can see what's going on there. You can also reset. So just by pushing and holding the OK button there, that's going to reset all items, economy, speed, driving time, whatever the case may be. Swiping across into tire pressure. So you can see what's going on with your wheels. Hit OK there in order to change your measurements, whether that's PSI, KPA, bar, etc. Shooting across to your navigation. So same idea if you had a route going, and then you also got full map and cluster, which is amazing. And actually I wonder if we change this out. Oh yeah, look at that. Fully stretched out map and cluster instead. That's like one extra reason why you'd want to go for that. Yeah, for that view, but that's still pretty cool. You can get your full map and cluster there. There's also your sources, and then you can hit OK there in order to change your different sources out. Shooting across into your little drive view instead. So you can see what sources or what, I should say, safety settings are currently activated. From there, just your basic drive view and then a speed limit sign. So with this drive view, it's actually kind of neat because as you go to utilize the adaptive cruise control system, you'll notice that these go green with the lane centering system turned on or the drive assist turned on there. So your steering assist there. So only available while you're using the cruise control. But these things are all going to go green as you utilize them. And that means that they're activated, and that's going to perfectly keep you balanced in your lane. You've got the adaptive cruise system going, all that fun stuff. It looks really good when it's actively being used. And then you've got a boatload of different settings. So do you want your traction stability control enabled, disabled, yay or nay? Driving assistance settings, so cruise control, do you want to automatically have it adjusted based off of your route? Where that comes into play is that the vehicle recognizes you're coming along bends and turns, whatever the case may be. It can automatically slow you down as well. Do you want to get speed limit assist, yay or nay? So if you're going a little bit too fast, or let's say if the speed changes, it can automatically lower the speed for you as well. Lane centering assist is a useful one, so it's going to keep the vehicle perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. You do need to be using the adaptive cruise control system in order to use that though. Lane assist, we've seen that one. So that's if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it can either warn you or it's going to nudge you back into your lane. Same idea with blind spot and then the emergency assist. So you'll see a few of these are duplicated a few different places. Rear cross traffic alert, if you're backing up and somebody's coming perpendicular, it can let you know. It can let you know if there's a moving object behind you there as well. And then do you want to get that front or rear parking sensing system? So if you are actively using, like if you're backing up, whatever the case may be, you can actually see your sonar for the front and for the rear. So if there's somebody there, something there, an obstacle, it's going to beep at you to let you know, but you can also toggle it off. You can also say how far do you want to be before you get that notification, and you can also adjust the volume there as well. Driver monitor is an interesting one. So if you start to veer over too many times without signaling, eventually it's going to tell you that you should probably take a break, but you can toggle that off if you want to. E-step is going to be your one pedal drive. Chassis control, nothing exciting there. Personal display, that's the same one, so we've already seen that one. What do you want it to look like? Head-up display is available here as well. So you can adjust the brightness of the display. I typically recommend going for maximum brightness. It just makes it way easier to see. You can adjust the height, so how high or low does it sit, just based off of your own personal height. Rotation, do you want to rotate it left or right? What content do you want showing up as well? So driving assistance, speed, sign recognition, you're changing your radio station, things like that. And then you can reset it. So there's a lot of stuff available inside of this little guy. So you can see your little head-up display there, but you've got your current vehicle speed. If the cruise control system and things like that were turned on, you've got your current radio station. If you had an active route going, it would also show up inside of the display. And then one really cool thing that I like, you can actually see the head-up display when you're using polarized glasses. I can't tell you the number of cars that I'm in where if you go to use polarized sunglasses, the head-up display doesn't actually work. So Nissan, whatever you're doing to make that so dang bright, good on you, because that is typically not the way that it is inside of most head-up displays that I review. But yeah, you've got the flexibility of adjusting it there. And then there's a button just down by your left knee there, so you can toggle the head-up display on or off. When you toggle it off, that menu goes away. You can see it comes back on again. Eco mode, let's see, do you want to be, that's where you're going to get all of your reports. So when you go to turn the vehicle off, it's going to let you know how good of a drive you were doing. Look at your history to see how good you've been able to get. It's terrible right now just because I'm sitting here parked doing an explainer video. TPMS settings, nothing exciting there. How do you want to measure your tire pressure? Clock is a neat one. So whether or not you want the clock showing up inside of the cluster screen there. How do you want it displayed? So auto versus manual versus time zone. You're typically going to be in auto mode. The only time I recommend getting out of that, like time zone specifically, is if you're straddling a time zone and you're constantly jumping back and forth between different zones. So you can permanently lock it out to whatever time zone that you want to. But for most people, you're going to be fine in the manual mode. And then do you want to be in that 12 versus 24-hour mode? So do you prefer the military time instead? And then these other options are grayed out because you don't have manual mode enabled. But if you did, you'd be able to manually set the clock if you wanted to. But yeah, like I said, auto mode is the way to go. Basics for vehicle settings. So the power back door. So if you had a power liftgate, you'd be able to toggle that on or off. You can adjust the lighting as well. So you can turn your headlights on. So as you go to approach the vehicle at night, the lights will come on. You can adjust the accent lighting inside the vehicle. So it's very subtle, but lit up at night. Looks pretty cool. And then you can also adjust the brightness of the ambient light. Single color, unfortunately, but it's subtle, but it shows up at a few places and it kind of looks neat. Then when you go to lock the vehicle at night, do the lamps just turn off or do they stay on for up to 3 minutes? So useful if you've got a little bit of a drive to go in order to get to your front door. Options for locking, nothing exciting there. When do you want to be able to unlock, or when do you want the vehicle to lock or unlock, etc.? Let's see, do you want your horn to beep when you go to lock? Walk-away lock is cool because if you've forgotten to lock your door and you're walking away with the fob on you, it's going to automatically lock the door. And then you can also turn approach unlock on as well. So if you've got the key fob on you, you walk up to the door, it's automatically going to unlock for you as well. Wipers, speed dependent. So as you're going faster, it's potentially going to speed up the wipers for you. Rain sensing, same idea. So the vehicle can automatically determine how fast or slow it's got to go based off of whether or not rain's hitting, and then reverse link. So if you've got your front windshield wipers going and you put yourself into reverse, it's automatically going to flip on those rear wipers for you as well. From there, driving position, easy entry exit seat, and then steering on top of that. So you can enable or disable these. But what that means is that if you go to turn the vehicle off, so, oh yeah, you can't see the power button there, but when you go to turn the vehicle off there, if you've got these enabled, if you've got the power steering wheel, it's going to push it forward. And then for the seat, it's going to pull it back for you to get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. Rear door alert, nothing exciting there. Mirrors, do you want to auto unfold? So auto fold off, so that means that they're always going to be open. You can have it automatically unfold when you go to turn the vehicle on, or when you go to unlock the vehicle, do you want the mirrors to unfold for you? EV settings, when do you want your charger to be locked? Auto versus lock. So auto means that if there's an active charge going, it's going to stay locked in, but it can be unplugged at any time if the power source is cut. Locked means that that charger is always going to be locked in regardless, and then you can unlock it as well. The benefit of being unlocked, like I said, it's always going to unlock for you, but in order to unlock, or it's always going to stay locked, I should say, but in order to unlock, you have to hop inside, turn the car on, and then manually unlock it that way instead. Charge time. How do you want to be charging up? Like, what do you want it to look like there as you go? Battery cool assist. Nothing exciting. Maintenance, if you're doing maintenance yourself, so changing tires out. You can customize the display a little bit. So what do you want showing up in that main screen? Having the turn-by-turn directions on that home screen is actually pretty damn useful. Route guidance alerts, yay or nay. Welcome effect as you go to start the vehicle up. You saw that when we first turned the car on. Do you want to get animations and sounds? And nothing exciting there. Wiper. Do you want to have your front versus rear wiper going? Available. High beam assist. So in the auto mode there, if the vehicle recognizes the high beams are needed, it's going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, dim them, etc. And then seat memory. Do you want that enabled? Yay or nay. And then seat memory is available down the middle there. So once you have the seat set up the way that you'd like to, you're going to push set and then either 1 or 2 in order for it to remember your own personal profile. So very, very useful, especially if you have multiple people driving the car. And units. Do you want to be in kilometers, miles? Do you want your temperature measured in Celsius or Fahrenheit instead? Do you want your language to be English, French, or Spanish? And then factory reset. So you can do a factory reset to bring yourself back to the factory default screen there instead. Then only other thing to point out is going to be right along the side there. So you see that there's a little icon there. You can push that in order to be able to adjust the screen brightness. So if you want it a little bit darker, brighter, whatever the case may be, you've got that flexibility. Taking a peek at the infotainment system inside of the Nissan Ariya. First thing, you've got some buttons along the outside. The one along the very top, if you push that, that's going to change you between either a day or a nighttime mode. You can also do a push and hold on it instead in order to turn the display off, and then do a button push in order to be able to turn the display back on again. Takes a few seconds there, and screen is now resumed. There's a camera button there as well, and the camera button brings you into your full 360 camera mode. From there, you can hit that in order to be able to turn on your parking sensors, and then there's type of parking as well. So some versions of the Ariya do have park assist, so it can help out with either parallel or perpendicular parking. But if you want to walk through on how to actually use the park assist system, check down in the description of the video. I put together a comprehensive walkthrough showing how that one's done specifically. You can go back to the home screen here. Along the very top side, you've got a little notification tray. So if there were notifications available, you've got a home button, factory navigation button, media, phone, and then climate control settings. So there are some climate control settings along the very bottom of the screen there, and that's going to be for dual zone climate control, things like that. And then you've got a series of advanced options along the screen here. So toggling on the heated steering wheel, you can adjust the driver passenger side climate, have it for driver only for the actual temperature itself. You can sync up the passenger to whatever the driver's side is, toggle on your heated and ventilated first row seats if you had them available. So all of these features, well, some of them are going to be dependent on the trim level that you're in. Do you want the air circulation going to windshield, face, feet, some sort of combination of the above, windshield, etc. You can hit there in order to adjust your rear climate as well. So turn on those rear heated seats if you wanted to. So it's strictly for the driver and passenger side. So that middle seat in the rear is never going to be heated. And then from there, you've got a few other basic options. Hopping into climate control brings you back to whatever screen you were on last, back to the home screen. There's this little settings icon along the very top. So pushing that one is going to give you a few other options, well, a boatload of other options, but we'll dive into settings last. You've got the current time along the top right-hand side as well, what temperature you're currently looking at, heated seats, heated steering wheel. So it's essentially just a little quick launch tray for you to toggle on different settings on top of that. So let's dive through, show you everything that you need to know. Because there are, like I said, a lot of features, especially when you look at the Ariya because it's feature packed. Starting off on the media side of things, so you've got different sources available. So there's AM, FM, SiriusXM, Bluetooth. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that would be available as an option. There's Android Auto, Apple CarPlay media as well, and then different apps that are available. So jumping into any of these sources like AM, FM, you can see along the top, you've got other sources available that you can swipe in between. FM list gives you all of the available stations based off of your geographic area. If you've gone to a different spot, just hit refresh, and that's going to refresh the list based off of where you currently are. So you could select whatever station you want to that way. Do you want to show radio text? Yay, nay. If we were to go back, you've got the station that we've currently tuned to. Now that station is currently saved, but if it wasn't, in order to be able to save a preset, all you're going to do, like there are a lot of different options here. You're just going to push and hold. You heard that little beep, and that's going to overwrite any of these presets that are available, so that are there. You can seek this way if you want to, so it's essentially one seek at a time. You can go this way as well if you wanted to. You can scan if you wanted to, scan through all of the available stations. Then if you were to go to AM, it's the exact same thing. SiriusXM gives you a few other options available too. So you've got the current channel that we're on, guest user, so obviously if you were logged into your account, you could see there. You could see related based off of what you're listening to as well. Then you can browse a few different ways. So you can see your For You, music, sports, news, so it's essentially looking at your category view instead. And then back. Clicking on related there is going to give you related content that's available based off of what you're listening to. And then there's this little bell icon. So you could get a notification for the artist and for the song. One of the big benefits there, if Linkin Park Numb comes on any station, you're going to get a notification letting you know that either Linkin Park has started playing or that that specific song is playing. Then you can hit notification there in order to be able to deselect or manage all of the ones that you've currently selected. So all the artists, all the songs that you like. Straightforward. You can tune this way if you want to. So if you know the station, and that's the same way regardless of the source. So you can manually tune this way. So if you want to listen to a certain station, you've got the flexibility to be able to do it. Really straightforward. And then, like I said, a boatload of different options available for your presets. So 36 individual presets that can be a mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM as well. Pushing the little icon there gets you to a few other options where you can manage your presets. So you've got all of the presets that are currently saved. If you wanted to, you could select all if you wanted to delete them, unselect, or if you wanted to, let's say if you wanted to delete a few different stations or presets, you've got the flexibility to do it. Pushing and holding, unfortunately, does nothing, so you can't rearrange them this way. But back, all settings brings you into all of the available settings inside of the vehicle. But that's the basics of using the radio inside of the Ariya. From there, let's hop into adding in a phone. So as of right now, no devices are connected. So let's start off on the iPhone side of things. On your phone, you're looking for My Ariya. Perfect, there we are. Pin numbers match up, so we're going to pair. Do I want to allow contacts and favorites to sync? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes there, and we are fully connected. So you've got the phone you could hop into there. You can see if your connection, or your contacts and things like that, if you said yes, those would all download. I said no, again, because this is not my car, but your dial pad is there, phone name as well. And then, on the phone, do you want to use CarPlay with your Ariya? Yes, you do. So you are looking at wireless CarPlay inside the vehicle. Yes, we want to do that. Now, it is wireless CarPlay, but it is also backwards compatible. So if you had a USB cable as well, you'd be able to utilize USB instead, and that's USB type A or type C. And you just have to plug that in down the center console. But look at this, fully connected. So these buttons along the outside are always going to be fixed in place, but this is the Apple CarPlay side of things. So you've got your current time, connection, and battery levels, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. Then you can go to an icon view, back to your home screen there instead, back to icon view, but then you can also swipe across if you want to. So you've got a few things. If you had a calendar note up on the very bottom there, you can see, so upcoming calendar notifications letting us know something's going on at 4 o'clock. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze. Apple Maps is good, straightforward to use. There's no pinch to zoom capabilities, unfortunately. And that's the same way with Google Maps. So no pinch to zoom. You'd have to go in and out this way if you wanted to, but you can move around freely using your finger. You can easily search for addresses if you want to. Hitting the gear icon lets you avoid certain things on the route. So avoiding highways, toll roads, and ferries. You can change map colors, look at traffic, what heading do you want to use as well. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. But as much as I like Google Maps, I like Waze the best when I'm driving. And there are a few key reasons why. So you could easily search for addresses that way if you want to. You can mark things off on the map too. So if you see that there's a cop that's pulling people over, you can give people a heads up. If you see that there's a crash, if there are hazards, so cars on the shoulder, things like that, you'd have the flexibility of letting people know. And you can see everything as you go. So there's been an accident reported there. As you drive along your route, you can see what's going on. So like I said, I do prefer Waze specifically because you can see what's going on around you. Hoopla is a library app. Live One's a radio app. You can use podcasts through this screen as well. Now, one downside is that you can listen to your podcasts and things like that here if you want to. You can listen to YouTube music if you want to, but the screen, unfortunately, does not support video playback. And there's no way around that one, unfortunately. But the screen is fully loaded. One nice thing is that when you're connected through the screen here, you could then also, or I should say Apple devices, you can push and hold the voice command prompt in order to activate your Siri assistant there if you want to. And then if you go back to the home screen, it's going to take a second. You can launch back into the phone there if you want to, and back. You can also launch into CarPlay this way. So there's a little CarPlay button there. You can push that to launch back into CarPlay instead. And then on your phone, if you are in your settings, you go to General and then CarPlay, look for your car. You can forget it, you can customize, and then you can turn CarPlay off while the phone is locked. That's the one thing you want to look at. So if your CarPlay connection's not working, make sure that's enabled. But if you're still running into issues, I put together a walkthrough video explaining how to fix CarPlay issues in any vehicle. You'll find that down in the description. But if you look at customize, let's say if you're a big fan of listening to podcasts, and if you wanted to have Waze up along the very top, you've got the flexibility to adjust the screen. Anyone with a minus next to it, you can also remove it. So if you're not a fan of a few of these apps, you can delete them, but it keeps them in at the bottom of the phone. So you could add them back in if you want to. If you played around with the layout too much, you don't like what you've done, on the phone, there's a reset button, reset, and that's just gonna bring you back to the factory default layout there instead. And then if you go back home, you've got the phone that you're currently connected to, but if you hit the settings icon, you've got that phone that we can't do anything with, so we have to go to connections for a second because we're connected right now for the CarPlay. But if you wanted to disconnect from CarPlay, you could then hit, boom, we're stopping Apple CarPlay, connecting back over Bluetooth instead, strictly for the phone. So you can be, yeah, that's okay. Don't ask anymore. No. All right, so as of right now, connected not over CarPlay, but over Bluetooth for phones. So you could be connected over CarPlay or over Bluetooth for audio and then for phone calls as well. So it's either Apple CarPlay or one of the others, but you can access all of these options through CarPlay as well. In CarPlay, you can see your phone is also connected there. And then to reconnect, you're just gonna hit the little CarPlay icon. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Ariya. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on the screen, let's say you're back on the home screen, if a phone wasn't connected, you could log in. But what we want to do is go into our connections for a second, and you can see we're on the screen. I'm just going to add in a device. Okay, there we go. And what we want to do on the phone, we're looking for my Ariya again. Just take a second. There we go. Pin numbers match up, so we're going to hit OK there. And do you want it to be the favorite device? So if you've got multiple phones connected, it's who's going to get connection priority. I want to say yes to this one for now. And it's asking me, do I want to allow access to my contacts, my messages, things like that? Again, this is not my car, so I'm going to say no. Don't ask any more on that one, and okay. And we are now fully connected over Bluetooth. So in order to set up Android Auto, you are looking at a USB connection in order to do it. And using a USB cable, you want to make sure that it's a USB cable with the data transfer icon there. Because if it's not data transfer, it's not going to transfer the data, it'll just work for charging. So if you're running into issues with Android Auto not connecting, chances are good you're using the wrong type of cable. And yeah, this is saying no just because I said no to that one there. So I'm going to connect through down the center stack there. And opposite end, just gonna plug ourselves in and bam, and watch this. A few seconds in, do you want to use Android Auto? Yes, we want to do that, so let's start. And on the phone, Android Auto would like to, so you have to hit next there. Okay, it should take a second. Would you look at that? There we go. Phone is now fully connected through Android Auto. So it is wireless Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto, regardless of the version of the vehicle that you're in. So very similar to the iPhone side of things, you've got a series of buttons along the very bottom, your current timing connection, battery levels, a few basic apps along the very bottom. You can press the icon there if you wanted to set up your Google Assistant. You can also do a long press and hold on the steering wheel to activate your assistant that way instead. You've got a little split screen here, but if you hit the little Google Maps icon there, that's going to bring you up to a full screen map. And that's full pinch to zoom capabilities. That's one thing I love about Android Auto inside of, or Google Maps, I should say, inside of Android Auto, is that it is full pinch to zoom capabilities. You can hit the little icon here if you wanted to do things like avoid certain things on the route. So if you wanted to avoid motorways, toll roads, ferries, things like that, you could. You could change your perspective this way. Zoom in and out this way instead if you want, and then also easily search for addresses. Pressing the little icon button here gives you a few other options. Now this phone does have Waze installed, and you can see that Waze is actively showing. But if for whatever reason you've got Waze installed on your phone, on your Android, and it's not showing up here, check down in the description of the video for a little walkthrough on how to connect those instead. But you've got quite a few different options available here too. So you've got your basic maps. There's also podcasts that are available, Spotify and things like that. There are quite a few different apps that are available on the Android side of things. And then very similar to Apple, you've also got the flexibility of being able to customize the screen. So if you search for Android Auto, look at Android Auto settings, and then scroll, you've got a boatload of options. But what we're looking for is Customize Launcher. So we're gonna hit Customize Launcher there, and you can see all of the different apps that are currently on the phone that are compatible. So you can add different apps in if you want to. You could do a move around this way instead if you want. So you can drag any of these things around if you'd like to, but it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things. So what you have to do, go back home. Actually, I guess the easiest way to do it, just unplug the phone. So unplug the phone, watch this. Plug yourself back in, and it should take a second there. Android Auto, let's relaunch into Android Auto there. And look. So all of the changes that we made customizing the launcher have taken into effect. So it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side, but it's at least got the flexibility of being able to customize, which is great. Push the home icon to get back home. You can launch back into Android Auto that way, launch back into your phone if you'd like to. And then if you go to your settings along the top of the screen, connections, you've got both phones that we've connected. So one cool thing is that you can kind of do a mix and match here. So it can either be Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but you can do a mix and match of these four. So if you have one phone connected for phone calls, one phone connected for media, you can have it set up that way. Really useful. You can hit the little info icon there to enable disable Bluetooth for hands-free calling, for Bluetooth audio, Android Auto, etc. And then in the other phone here, so if you had multiple phones connected, you could then reactivate these things as well. So you can activate for hands-free calling, etc., or you can fully delete. So I've deleted the iPhone, and let's go through and also delete the Android, and delete, and yes. And 3, 2, 1, and you are fully disconnected here. So that's how you set up Apple CarPlay and Android Auto inside of the Nissan Ariya. And heading back home. So that's the phone. Next up is going to be using factory navigation, which is straightforward. So you've got pinch to zoom capabilities here. You can move around with your finger. It's pretty responsive, not bad. I'd like to see a graphic upgrade though, but you can easily pinch to zoom this way. You can hit this little icon if you wanted to see where you're at. You can also look at a few things here. So whether or not you want that showing, your home address. So if you have a home address set up, one of the big benefits there is that you can hit the home icon for the vehicle to navigate home. You'd also be able to push the voice command prompt. You could push the voice command prompt on the steering wheel to navigate home, whatever the case may be. From there, you could zoom in and out on the map this way if you want. You can go back in order to search. So you can search by GPS coordinates, so latitude first, longitude second. You can search by point of interest icons. So let's go Nice and Canadian of me. Search for a Tim Hortons. Boatload of different options. Actually, let's go. There we go. So let's just do a general search for Tim Hortons there. It's going to give us a boatload of options. Let's take one that's a little bit further away. You can see there, and it's built with Google, so it's technically using the Google Maps platform to do it.
Follow the road for 150 meters.
Nice and useful. And one cool thing is that when you've got that enabled, it's also going to show you your turn-by-turn directions right inside of the head-up display, if you've got a head-up display, but really, really useful. From there, zoom in and out as well if you want to that way. You could push this button in order to enter a new destination. You can cancel the route, look at some route preferences as well. So if you wanted the shortest distance, fastest route, the most energy efficient, you can minimize toll roads. So if you don't want to use toll roads, you've got that flexibility. Do you want to use HOV lanes, yay or nay? Use ferries, learned routes, and things like that. Nothing too exciting. You can recalculate, show your destination, edit your route, and then you can detour. There are guidance settings and things like that. So let's see, guidance settings. Do you want to get voice guidance? So as you're coming up to a turn, do you want to get notifications, yay or nay? Do you want to adjust your volume?
Sample.
So if you don't want the navigation volume there to be too loud, you can disable toll booth. So if you're coming up to an upcoming toll booth, it's going to let you know if there's traffic that it recognizes as well. And back, actually, there was one I wanted to show you here. If we go new destination, you can search previous destinations, others. So let's go destination, and let's look for EV, and we're going to look for a charging station. So it's got a few different stations that are available. So let's just randomly select one here, and let's add it to the route. So we're essentially adding in waypoints. So we've got our end destination that we've already gone to, and now we've got a place that we're going to stop as well. So it's really, really straightforward.
Follow the road for 300 meters.
Straightforward using it. Then you can exit to either cancel all of the destinations, so the full route that we've set up, or one destination. Which one do we want to cancel? So if we don't want to stop at the charging station anymore, you can hit yes, and then we're strictly going to the Tim Hortons now instead, and it's adjusted the route, or you hit X.
Follow the road for 150 meters.
And we've now canceled the destination. You can hit search again if you wanted to research, or hit there in order to look at previous destinations. So if you wanted to go to a destination that you've gone to previously, you've got the flexibility to do it. So I know there's quite a bit there, but it's actually really straightforward utilizing factory navigation inside the vehicle. Swiping across, you've also got your EV. Obviously, because this is an electric, you've got this option for charging. So it shows you all of the charge stations that are local to you. You can filter it as well. So if you wanted to only have quick charging stations, if you only wanted to show free charging stations, you could do that. How do you want to pay? Are they open 24 hours? Whatever the case may be. So it's going to update and let us know what stations are around us that are free. It's kind of cool. So the different options there. You can hit the options icon to select cities, sort by distance, and things like that. And back, let's go. So connections, we've already been there, but that's where you can see Apple CarPlay, Android Auto connections, things like that. All apps are available too. Let's see, what one's here? So Nissan Connect services, things like that. There's mobile apps, downloaded apps, nothing exciting. SiriusXM travel link, so if you've got an active SiriusXM subscription, TomTom, and then EV. So you can see a boatload of things. So you've got energy usage, so how much have you used, and where can you go based off of your current range. Moving back, same thing, your total driving range, so how far can you go based off of your current driving range. Charging stations that are available, so same idea. You can select that a few different ways. Charge timer's a neat one. So if you were plugged in at home, you'd be able to then select a few different things. So you'd be able to have timers working at home, whether you're at work, whatever the case may be, and you can set yourself up to go on certain times. So big benefit there is, when do you want to charge up? Do you only want to charge up? Here we go. So let's actually edit this so I can show you. If you only want to charge up at certain times of the day, when do you want to charge? So let's say if you wanted to go from 8 p.m. when you're going to get cheaper charge rates, and then you wanted to stop at maybe 7 o'clock a.m. when the cheap charge rates are over. You've got that flexibility. And what days do you want to do it? Do you only want to charge Monday to Friday at that time? You've got that flexibility. And I'm obviously not going to save that one, but you've got the flexibility to have up to 3 individual options. So if you wanted to charge Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at a certain time, you could. For Saturday, Sundays, whatever the case may be. So you're only going to be charging the vehicle up during those times. And then you can take it a step further with a climate timer too. So what climate do you want the vehicle to be set at, and when do you want it set? It's the same idea. Let's say if you have a tendency to leave for work Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning, you can go back, you can set your days. So Monday to Friday, you're going to have the vehicle come on at that temperature. So it's essentially preconditioning the cabin instead. So rather than hopping inside the vehicle and freezing your butt off, you'd be able to have it set up, whether it's hot, cold, whatever the case may be. And again, 3 different options. So if you're going to leave home at the same time every day, Monday to Friday, and then you're going to leave work same time, Monday to Friday, you can set that up as well. Very, very useful. Where are you? So if you end up getting lost, you've got your actual GPS coordinates there. So if, let's even say your batteries died and you need to call a Nissan roadside assistance in order to get some help, you've got that flexibility, and all you have to do is just give them your GPS coordinates to let you know where you're at. Swiping your Chrome, same idea. You've got your GPS coordinates here as well. So you can see your GPS coordinates is done a different way. System information, nothing exciting there. SirusXM information, license, things like that. That's the basics for your apps. There's Alexa built in as well, and you would have to be signed in order to be able to utilize it. You can see what's going on with your current weather, or search for cities, whatever the case may be. Nissan Connect services are available as well if you're running into problems. You can see your total driving range. So again, we're in an EV, so you can see how far you can get based off of your current range. Then current energy usage, which we've already seen that one. Swiping across, you can also change users. One of the big benefits here is that if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you can set up a new user. You can lock it to a specific key, you can edit the name, the icon, and things like that. And a big benefit there is, as I said, if you've got multiple people driving, it's going to remember all of your settings. So it'll remember your presets, the phone that you've connected, all of your seat settings and things like that, locked into your own unique profile. So if multiple people are driving, definitely go through there in order to set up unique profiles. You can sync it with your key, whether or not you want the welcome message, things like that. You can hit the little plus icon there to customize the screen a little bit. So you can add in a little widget. And there are a boatload of different widgets that are available here for you to be able to customize. So if you wanted to kind of adjust the screen out, customize it, make it a little bit more of your own, you've got the flexibility to do it. The only other one to point out from here, well, it's a big one, going to be all of the available settings. So on the settings side of things, connections, which we've already seen. If a phone was connected, you could pull up your phone information there. Navigation gives you a boatload of other options for your navigation. Do you want to have your heading up 3D versus north up? So you've got different options there. 3D actually does look pretty nice. Point of interest icons, what do you want showing? Do you want to have fast food stations showing, gas stations, nightlife, parking? So many different options. You've got traffic information, whether or not what that one's showing up. You'd need SiriusXM traffic link to view that live info. You could do a split screen. A split screen, I'm not too crazy about, but you could show whether or not you got left versus right side and what's showing up there. It doesn't look the prettiest when you don't have a route going here. Watch this. Yeah, it does not look good when you don't have a route set up by any stretch. But when you've got an active route going, it's kind of cool because then you'd be able to see kind of like turn-by-turn directions on one side of the map as well. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of split screen, but you could do it if you really wanted to. You can customize some things. Do you want to have either a black map or actually, you know what? The black map looks kind of cool. Or a white map instead. Nice. You can show different things. Do you want to adjust your text size there? So do you want it large, medium, small, whatever the case may be? Tracking dots. Think of that one like it's breadcrumbs. So you'd be looking like Hansel and Gretel style. So any places that you've gone on the map, you're going to get a little dot next to everywhere that you've been. So very useful if you're going to new places or if you just like kind of keeping track of places that you've been. How big or small do you want those tracking dots to be as well? Split screen info, no. Let's see, anything else exciting here? Traffic dots, no, nothing else exciting there. Those are really the big settings. And then you've got your routing preferences. So do you want the shortest, the fastest, or the most eco-friendly route? Again, minimizing toll roads, which we've already seen most of these ones. Voice guidance, we've already seen these, but do you want to get all of these different guidance prompts? You can edit your user information. So this is where having multiple people set up or user profiles would come into play. You'd be able to add in your home address, your work address, save your address book, save routes, areas that you want to avoid, and things like that. So if you were to push,
Please say or select a command. Canceling voice recognition.
You hit the voice command prompt, say navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be. Remember under radio? So under radio, we set up that we wanted notifications if Linkin Park or a song came on, and that just let us know that that song is played, which is kind of cool. But that's the basics of using navigation there, and then you can reset everything back to the default instead. Do you want to show safety information, safety camera? Nothing exciting there. And actually, let's go back to our settings here. And back to settings, sounds and beeps. Sound settings. Do you want to, ooh, that is terrible. Do you want to adjust your treble, mid-range, bass, etc.? So you want to reset that for sure on this one. So you bass like crank 3 or 4 points, in my opinion, is pretty good. And treble down a point or two tends to give pretty good audio. Speed sensitive volume. So as you go faster or slower, it's automatically going to raise or lower the volume for you. For this, do you want it focused on the driver, the passengers, reset it back to center. You could do a little balance or fade as well too, if you wanted to, or reset to bring you back to the middle instead. But yeah, like I said, this tends to give pretty good audio. So the bass crank like 3 or 4 points with the treble down a few points, in my opinion. Voice and beeps, when you have audio, so you can adjust your audio rocker there or adjust it through the screen. What level do you want your guidance volume to be? How loud do you want your ringtone to be? Phone's not connected, but if it was, how loud do you want your outgoing calls to be? Button beeps. Do you want to get that or not? I find that one annoying, but it's a matter of preference. And then do you want to get your guidance voice when you're coming to an upcoming turn? Do you want to get a notification? And system voice. So that's the voice command prompt. Do you want to get the initial prompt? I say no to that one. And do you want to get your short voice? Absolutely. And the reason why, watch this. Tune to 94.9 FM. It just does it. So rather than getting that initial prompt and then it kind of diving in a little bit deeper, it just does whatever you want it to do instead. So it's very, very useful setting it up that way instead. So we go sounds and beeps. System voice, those are the ones that I recommend. So turn initial prompt off, short prompt on. Do you want either a male or female voice? How fast or slow do you want them to speak? You can allow, oh, this. Hello, Nissan. So you can activate your
voice recognition.
You can activate your voice prompt that way instead if you want to. And that's the basics of sounds and beeps, system updates. If they were available, you can update your map, your software, things like that. So the map has to be done either by USB or by Wi-Fi. So you just have to be connected to a Wi-Fi network at home in order to be able to update that one instead. You can adjust your clock. Do you want to show your clock on the screen, yay or nay? Do you want to be in either manual, auto, or time zone? You're going to be honestly in manual the majority of the time, or auto I should say. Time zone is if you straddle a time zone and you're constantly flipping back and forth between the different time zones, you can lock yourself out to whatever time zone you'd like to. And then from there, you can also have it in a full manual mode instead, where you could set your date and then your form, and then also your date format and then your clock format. So that is a matter of preference. Like I said, the most part though, you're probably just going to be in the auto mode. That would make the most sense. And then do you want to be in that military time instead? So 12 versus 24-hour mode. So you've got options there. Moving back, you can customize the menu a little bit. So customizing the home screen, let's not show that one. So you can X out any of these ones if you wanted to in order to delete them. And then you can add in different things as well. Auto arrange brings it back to the factory default instead. Same idea. So if we wanted to optimize the audio sources there, you've got the flexibility. So in the audio screen, which quick launches are going to show up for the different sources. So if you have a tendency to listen to your USB 2 audio, Apple CarPlay, whatever the case may be, you've got the flexibility of being able to replace any of these things if you want to. And then back. Do you want to exit without saving? Yes. You can customize the lower bar there, so whether or not that one shows up. Customize the destination menu for specifically looking at your navigation. Just honestly, for that one, just leave it as a default. Series of general settings. So for the display, do you want to turn the display on, off? Do you want to adjust the brightness, the contrast, or the black levels? Those contrast and black levels are pretty high. But yeah, look at that. You can kind of see it adjusting there for us as we go. And back. Language, do you want to be in either English, French, or Spanish? Measurement units is a useful one. So you've obviously got your kilometers versus miles. And when you adjust that one, it also adjusts what's going on inside of the cluster screen. So you can see it adjusting there. Actually, it's easier to see it in this view instead. There we go. So as we jump between kilometers, miles, etc., it literally changes everything for us. And then when we jump into either Fahrenheit, Celsius, whatever the case may be, you can select that out instead. Keyboard, do you want to be in either A, B, C, D versus QWERTY? Nothing exciting. Nissan Connect, same thing, nothing exciting. For your camera, you want to adjust the brightness, contrast levels, and things like that to make it easier to see for you. Parking. So the vehicle, as I mentioned, so it does have the option for park assist. You can adjust whether or not you want to use back-in, so perpendicular or parallel parking. And then, like I said, if you wanted to actually see how the park assist system works, check down in the description for that walkthrough. The seat, driver's seat pop on, yay or nay. So as you go to adjust the seat there, you can see what's actually happening in real time. So it's showing you what's actually going on with the seat as you adjust out. Kind of useful, but you can also turn that off if you really want to. If the infotainment system inside of the Ariya is giving you problems, so let's say Apple CarPlay is not working, Android Auto's not working, navigation's not working, or it's just kind of glitched out and it's not working properly, you can do a full screen reset. But the downside of the screen reboot is that it's going to wipe everything from the vehicle. So it's going to get rid of all of your saved addresses, any presets that you've set up, phones that you've connected, etc. What you actually want to do is a soft screen reboot. In order to do the soft screen reset, all you're going to do, down low, you've got this little volume power button. So you can adjust your volume this way, turn audio on, off. But if you take that button in the middle, just push and hold it for about 10 seconds or so. What we're doing here is entering a soft reboot cycle. So it's very similar to you doing a reset on your phone. There we go. So we've done that reboot there. So the screen goes blank and after a few seconds, it's going to come back on. So that should solve the majority of issues that you're facing. So like I said, Android Auto's not working, Apple CarPlay's not working, the screen's glitched out, bugging out on you. That's what you want to try there in order to be able to fix that screen. If that doesn't work, your next course of action would be to hop into your settings here after this loads up. There we go. So we're going to go settings and then you've got your general settings here. And then you've got return all settings to default. So that one won't be grayed out after everything fully starts up again, but return all settings to default is essentially a full factory reset. So you want to do soft screen reboot first. If that doesn't work, that hard screen reboot. If that doesn't work, you're going to have to take it into your Nissan dealership for them to have a look and see what's going on. There are two different buttons here. So you've got this tiny little like baby storage area. And you've also got your glove box there too. And there's a good amount of space inside of both of those boxes. You've got your little console here. If we go down for a second though, you've got a bunch of power points. So you've got two USB power points along with a 12 volt, a little bit of storage with some ambient light down there too. And then for the actual console here, so your shifter is pretty neat. You've got your reverse neutral drive. When you get into reverse there, you've got your camera option, which, I mean, that looked pretty nice. And then you've got your basic modes there, but yeah, it feels interesting in the hand for sure. The little console here though can be adjusted. So you can slide this back or forwards if you'd like to kind of adjust the arm position there if you'd like. There's some cup holders built right in. The armrest here, you can open it up, but there's no, a little bit of storage space there. Wireless charge pad is now standard across the board inside of the ride. Up overhead, you've got an auto-dimming rearview mirror with fully digital view. So there's a top-mounted camera in the back there in order to show you what's going on. You can adjust things out there. Look at that. Adjust out, left, right, rotate. You can change out the language here too. So neat. From there, there's a sunglasses holder built in. Oh, down they go. Sunglasses holder there with your basic light controls. And then you've got controls here for the full panoramic sunroof that can actually be opened up. So it drops down with a nice weather seal there. But I mean, that just opens things up beautifully. Single button press most of the way, secondary press for that last little bit. But I like that you've got a sunroof that can actually be opened up inside of the ride. There's a garage door opener at home. If that's available in your ride, it'll be there. There's a little handle along the passenger side. And then this little guy, you've got a little ticket receipt holder on the inside there. Vanity mirror when you hit that right spot, which is useful. And then this little feller stretches out. Look at that. That's blocking all of the sun. That's hitting your face. Then there's another assist handle here, and then the overall visibility that you get is solid. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, the seats are incredibly comfortable. And hold on, I think I've got, yeah, so the seats sit out the way I'd normally drive. Inside of the second row, same styling. So you've got that carpeted design along the door. And you've also got your blue leather there, some ambient light with a speaker and some storage. And hopping inside, so I've got the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall. I've got a great amount of knee space in the second row. Foot space is great. And head space sitting fully upright. I can sit back here. So 2.5 inches of head space roughly inside of the second row of the ride. The seats are locked into place, so there's no reclining them whatsoever. It's actually comfortable in the outboard seats too. There's no hump in the middle there. So fitting 3 full-size adults. Ooh. Wasn't sure about my head in the middle there. I've got maybe like an inch, not even of head clearance space in the middle seat. As always, middle seat, definitely not the most comfortable, but it's here if you need it. And then if you've got kids, all of your anchor points are there. Top tethers in behind the seat. You've got cup holders. I'd like to see something here to grip in order to pull down, because otherwise you just got to insert some fingers and drop for some cup holders. Up overhead, there's a little handle hook and then a light. Ooh, that's kind of neat. Multi-level, nice. And then it's the same thing here. So you've got your light handle and then a little hook there too. Outside of that, there's a mat pocket behind both the driver and the passenger side. Basic HVAC control, which is tied to the driver's side temperature. And then down low, you've got a few USB Type-C power points. So these are strictly for charging. And then you've also got heated outboard seats available depending on the trim level. And it's strictly the outboard seats. So this middle seat here would never be heated. You're going to find LED tail lamps inside of the Ariya. The nighttime profile of the car does look pretty sharp. Technology-wise inside of the ride, you're going to find the reverse park sensing system along with the backup camera and the rear wiper. And then style-wise, you've got this rounded design all the way throughout. It's actually pretty neat the way that Nissan's designed this car. Towing inside of the Ariya is possible. It doesn't matter which battery version you've got, front wheel or all-wheel drive. You're maxing out at 1,500 pound towing capacity, which, I mean, it's pretty respectable for a little EV. Similar to other EVs and even internal combustion cars, the more you tow, the more it's going to negatively impact your overall range. It's going to make your fuel economy worse. So let's say if you're going 1,500 pounds, your range might get cut down by 10, 15, 20%. But it also depends on your driving habits, because if the light goes green and you gun it, you're going to use more power than somebody who granny drives it instead. So that's just something to take into account. But 1,500 pounds is pretty nice. Then you've got a few different ways that you can get into the trunk of the ride. There's a button just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can use the key fob to do it. Just underneath the second S in Nissan, to the right-hand side of the backup camera, there's a button there that you can push. And there's also a hands-free option. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, all you're going to do, swipe your foot in the back. Hands-free power. Love that feature. Then looking at features in the back, there's only a little light off to both the left and the right-hand side. And then lifting up, you've got the charge cable. And then because this is the highest available trim, you've got a little woofer here in the back too. There's another tray that you can lift up a bit further up, and that is going to give you access to the inflator kit. So the actual compressors there, along with the goop. So if you ever puncture a tire, you can try to change it out yourself. But one of the nice things about being a Nissan owner is that you do have access to roadside assistance. So if you've ever popped a tire, punctured a tire, if you've locked yourself out of your car, your battery's died on you and you need to help, you do have access to that roadside assistance program. One of the added benefits of being a Nissan owner. And then folding down the second row seats is a manual process, and it's a 60-40 bench, so 60 driver, 40 passenger. There's a button along the top there. You're just going to lift. And down she goes. And there is a great amount of space inside of this ride. The cargo measurements that you're looking at here, the ones behind the first row, the way that I do it, it goes from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little console armrest between the first row seats. So if your driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you might gain or lose a little bit of extra space. But you can fit a lot of junk inside of this trunk. And one neat thing is that the liftgate also has the option for you to customize the height. So if you want to, you can actually pull this down, lift it up to whatever height you'd like to. And then there are 2 buttons along the outside. You're going to push and hold the outer one for a few seconds once you find that ideal height. We've got those chimes there, which means that the liftgate is not going to open up past whatever point you have it set to. So if your garage sits a little bit too high, if you're too short to hit the button there, you could adjust it out until it's perfect for you. Let's do a little bit of en route handling here. Unfortunate there are a bunch of people in front of us, but I'll be okay. Just gonna hang back for a second. And 3, 2, and here we go. Oh. It's so good. The acceleration's fantastic. The handling is great. It's the all-wheel drive system that'll do that. No complaints there at all. But I'd say, yeah, the acceleration there was great. The initial handling going around that bend was fantastic. The cabin inside of the Ariya is very quiet too. Like, you hear a little bit of ambient road noise from the driver's side window seam there, but it's a tiny amount of noise. It's not going to impact your driving whatsoever. You can always just crank the audio if you really needed to. And that was everything you needed to know about the Nissan Ariya. You can find all of the build details for this one down in the description with links off to Nissan Canada and US. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.